What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, giving you an update to the Affinity Cup Challenge. Now, if you don't know about it, we have 8 YouTubers, including myself, all participating in a team-based challenge against each other. We have fresh accounts, we were given a bunch of resources to start with, and we have a competition going week by week. We're paired with rivals. We were all assigned an Affinity, so if you don't know about it, I'm going to leave some information below so you can check it out and read up on the full rules so you can follow it with us as we give updates to our accounts. So as you can see here, I'm given Force. A lot of you probably already watched my polls on Cold Brew Gaming's channel. He is my rival in this tournament. He pulled the shards for me. I pulled his shards. I have pulled a few champions since then with the shards I received from all of these missions, events, so on and so forth. So I kind of wanted to give you an idea of 1, where I'm at, and 2, what is it like when a player who has been in the endgame setting for pretty much 6 or 7 months to completely start over a new account. How am I going to go through this process? So I want to give you some insight onto that. Maybe this can help some of you out if you are in this stage. Now, while we aren't spending money on this competition, it is technically free to play. However, when people hear that, they say there's no way you're free to play. You've been playing for 5 or 6 days. Look at your champions already. I understand where you're coming from for that. So the best way to break it down would be, if I've been playing for 5 days, I can honestly say this is probably about 1 month's worth of progress for everyone else, simply based on the energy we were given, the gems we were given, all the chickens and skill books we were given. So this is probably about a month, if not a little bit more. I would say 4 to 7 weeks of progress that we were able to achieve within 5 days. So I'm going to give you a rundown where I'm at. Along the way, I'm going to give you some tips you can use if you are in this stage of the game to further help your success in progressing forward. So as we can see here, I'm in a part where I'm farming dragon now. It's not the most efficient, but it is 100% win rate, and I have plenty of time to be farming stuff like this, so I don't mind the long wait time. It can go as fast as 2 minutes. As we can see here, we're at 3 minutes now, so there is definitely a huge swing in the clear time for this. So a big question is going to be, and we see our lovely Void Brew. After spending 3 minutes and 13 seconds in this dragon run, as we can see, stage 13 is the highest stage I've gone through at the dragon. I probably could progress further, but I have a very analytical way of looking at progress. If there is a chance that I fail based on the run before, I definitely think twice about going forward, when I can definitely just farm the stage that I'm currently on to further increase my gear to make sure I'm not wasting any energy when I move on to those higher stages. This is something very important for people to consider when progressing pretty much anywhere throughout the game. If you're not clearing the stage before with huge success, you could be looking at a 70% or lower chance of completion on the next stages, especially based on Affinity, which is why I think this challenge is really cool. As mentioned, I'm on stage 13. 14 is definitely possible. 15, I'm going to hit a wall. I already know that. So let's get into the champions I have before we go any further. So champions I pulled since my initial shard opening: Romero, awesome champion. I pulled Outlaw Monk, who has definitely helped me a ton. And the newest champion I pulled actually yesterday was Steel Bowyer. I'm really looking for a lot of additional progress coming out of her once I get her properly built, leveled up to 5 stars. So really looking forward to that. I think she's going to be crucial in my dungeons going forward. So as we can see here, I have 3 6 stars at the moment. Only the Relic Keeper is fully ascended. And as you can tell from the amount of ascensions I have, I focus the potion keep more than anything. Now, this isn't always the right thing to do. However, I had the champions I was confident in ascending right away to get those tier 3 bonuses for those that it applied to. So I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to give me the best success going forward. Talking about the arena really quick, the arena isn't as hard for someone who is Force Affinity. I think Spirit Affinity for Kizzle and Stu Gaming, they definitely have the hardest roundabout. However, there are a lot of very strong champions this low in the arena bracket. So it's definitely making it difficult, probably for everyone. You can kind of tell who has a good team if they have a speed leader, a turn meter booster, a debuffer, and then a damage dealer. Those are people you can kind of stay away from. However, some of them just aren't really good, so it's pretty easy to take them out very quickly. As far as the Minotaur goes, I haven't done much here. I went up to stage 10 just to see where I could get to. I would not consider farming masters on anyone until I got to about stage 14. I'll definitely get into this in a later update video, but there is actually a threshold goal to reach for early game players, in my opinion, to give them the most success early on. It involves getting tier 1, tier 2, and probably tier 3 masteries on these champions. Of course, going straight into these dungeons isn't the way to go. You're always going to want to bring food to pretty much anything you can do to make sure you're consistently clearing, so you're getting not only scrolls but also experience. Now, along with who can progress furthest in the dragon for this week, the other part of this competition is who can receive the most amount of campaign stars. Now, today I'm going to give you the rundown that I found success with, not only with the 5 accounts that I have had and leveled up myself, but also with this Affinity Cup. If you've watched me on stream, I went over this before, so I'm going to give you a little rundown after I show my progress. So we have normal fully cleared. We do have hard fully cleared. We don't have brutal fully cleared yet. I mean, as far as clearing all the stages, we have done that, but we don't have the stars for all of them. And I did start a bit into Nightmare. I got up to pretty much the wall, which is Green Affinity and Nightmare. This is a very heavy resource sink, so I'm not going to attempt this unless I'm fully confident I can do this with a 4-man team, so I'm not wasting energy. That's my progress as far as stars go. Now let's go over some of the things that are a big setback for being a Force Affinity. As we can see here, this stage has Spirit everywhere. Spirit is awful. I use a Relic Keeper to farm. He's a ton of fun to watch farm. Let's just watch this stage really quickly. We'll just throw in Spider for fun. There's a ton of RNG that goes into this kind of team. If he doesn't get a crit, he stops like that. They get a turn. They can definitely kill people. So this was kind of a pain to progress through because it's pretty much heavily reliant on getting a crit, making sure you have success going forward. And if you don't, you pretty much wipe, whether it's to Shazar's bombs, whether it's to the AoE from some of these other champions that just do a ton of damage. Obviously, they can get a strong hit, which really chunks out your health. So overall, this was definitely a harder experience for me to progress through. As we can see there, I didn't even notice that I hadn't gotten 3 stars on this. Now that I have Spider that I did recently pull as well, he's probably going to help me in these stages. He's not going to help me against Mortu Macabre in the next stage. That's something that's going to be very RNG based on his perils, how many weak hits I get, can I kill him fast enough before he kills me. So that's going to be some sort of race against time. So now let's answer the question, what's the most efficient way to go through the campaign to maximize your resources? Some people may disagree with this. I think I have pretty good progress having Force Affinity, having so many weak affinity bosses. I'm sure the Void Affinity teams, Hell Hades is on my team, Chosen's on the other team. I'm sure they're already in Nightmare campaign since they have no weak affinities to worry about. But as far as having a specific affinity, it's definitely difficult going through all of this. Maybe Magic also has an easier time since they are the strong affinity to the final stage of this. Obviously, the difficulty ramps up as you get all the way to the end. But I think it's safe to say that as far as campaign goes, Force Affinity will definitely has the biggest disadvantage in the campaign out of the rest of the contestants. You can just compare the affinities based on this last stage here, which is required to get to the next level. So it was definitely a pain progressing through, but it was worth it. Now let's go over what I did. Contrary to what I've seen most people do, I do not 3-star everything from stage 1 when I'm first progressing. I always have either 4 champions that aren't max level or 1 champion that are max level and 3 support champions that still gain active levels. I go as far as I can go, getting 1 star or 2 star all the way until I hit a wall. Now instead of hoping for RNG, burning potentially tons of energy trying to get the wall down, I go all the way back to where I first left off, Then I put 2 champions in that need leveling. Now when I did this, my Relic Keeper, obviously I was 6-starring him as we went along. So I had my unleveled Relic Keeper, who was my farmer, and then another champion that was my second strongest support role, which was the Skull Crusher in this case. So I took them all the way from stage 1, started progressing through. By the time I got all the way back to my wall, my champions had both increased 9 levels. Now, as you can imagine, those 9 levels were enough to get me past this wall. If this sounds confusing to you for any reason, well, what if you get into a wall in the next stage? That's not how it's going to work as far as affinities go. All of my walls were always against a green affinity champion, which is strong, me getting weak hits. Once I pushed through that, I could always get at least 2 or 3 separate stages further along. Once I got past that wall, I threw my 4 champions back in and once again progressed until I hit another wall, which was usually the green dragon. And instead of repeating that, like I mentioned, over and over again, wasting energy, I went all the way back to my previous wall, threw in my 2 strongest champions. If I had someone at 6-star, I would take the 6-star out, see if it was possible without them. And once again, I'd progress all the way back up to that wall area, getting focused leveling on 2 champions that can really help me progress where I'm walled in the content. And for me personally, that has always helped me in success going forward. Now, as we just saw how I did get a 3-star progress there where I hadn't before, I'm definitely going to go back and see how this works against these final stars to get my Sacred, to maybe get a Sepulture. That's probably the only champion I'm really looking for at this point. Awathar would obviously help as well, being a poisoner, but Sepulture for a more consistent attack down will definitely help me. Now, what is the only thing we haven't talked about here today? Murder, you have a Skull Crusher. Let's see the clan boss. Before we do that, let's talk about progression in the clan boss, how you should approach it. Clan boss rewards are not very good early on. I've said this before in videos, I'm going to say it here again. So what I'm not doing, yes, I have a Skull Crusher, I definitely have an advantage, but I'm not using that to my advantage because it's going to cost too much silver. Silver is something that is very hard to get, especially early on in the game. All we can do is farm, sell the gear, that's our source of silver. So our source of silver is definitely lacking. So as you can see here, I already did 1 key for 3.8 million. Obviously, Hell Hades is absolutely killing it. He's doing more damage than I am. He has the awesome advantage of having a speed booster here. As we can see, Bulwark's extending. So he has a well-rounded team for early on clan boss progression, having a speed booster and an extender. So if you have a counterattack or know about a counterattack, the way to get maximum value is to speed tune your champions. Now, I am not going to speed tune easy, then have to re-speed tune to normal, re-speed tune to hard. I'm going to wait until at least brutal before I speed tune my champions. I think I'm almost there. I've looked at some of my stats. I'm kind of just waiting on exactly what we're talking about, reaching that brutal speed for maximum success. So let me show you a key now, pretty much give you the rundown on how I'm doing things, and you will see why, even though my damage would significantly increase if I did speed tune this team, at this point in the game, it's just not worth it for me. So we got poisons from Outlaw Monk. We got our Skull Crusher here, and as you can see, he is going before these other champions. Defense down and weakened. Now we have the counterattack going on. In perfect example, my Relic Keeper didn't even get a turn there. So usually I manual this because Relic Keeper gets an extra turn. It's definitely not efficient to just let this on auto, let him burn through his counterattack. Even though it's not speed tuned, I'm not going to be foolish enough to waste any of this. That's something I thought about a lot. This team definitely has great synergy, so now that he's not going to get a second counterattack, I am free to burn this charge through. And as we'll see here, the hardest part for me is guiding the stun. This is something that's not realistic to do without a proper speed tune. So we're going to see where the stun goes here. It's looking like it's going to be on Spider, which is unfortunate. He is my attack down champion, so I'm just going to burn this early. And oh, it actually went on Relic Keeper. Beautiful. So Relic Keeper is one of the champions I have War Master on, so I did lose a bit of damage by him not getting a turn there, but I'm not going to sweat about it too much. Let's get that continuous heal from Romero, toss on that counterattack again, use the A1 from Spider. So for curiosity, In case you're curious, I have War Master on 3 champions. I have it on Skull Crusher, where there's not a ton of value from Skull Crusher since he always loses 1 turn of counterattack, and he loses a turn of doing no actions by simply applying the counterattack buff. So this is more of a long-term investment for him moving forward. I do have it on Spider. He was my most recent. And then the next champion obviously is my Relic Keeper, who is my farmer. I could have gone the crit damage away, but I felt that his value would be greatest in all content if I did, in fact, give him the War Master talent. Now let's see who gets stunned here. We are going to burn... No, we won't burn the attack down just yet. We're going to wait. Let's throw on these poisons now. Throw up that counterattack. Now we'll go defense down and weaken. Okay, the weaken got resisted. And we will throw up continuous heal here since we have no attack down. So it's not doing a ton of damage. Skull Crusher's allied protect is very strong in the early game, so that's huge. Let's go into this a little bit more. Now we're going to use our attack down just to alleviate some pressure coming up from the second AoE. If you don't know this already, the second AoE on Void Affinity is the hardest hitting attack. On any affinity under Void, the hardest hitting attack is in fact the first AoE. That's a quick tip in case you didn't know that already. So as we can see, our damage is ramping up pretty high. I'm hoping to get close to 4 to 5 million. Since my first key didn't go so well, I kind of just threw it on auto. I was doing a bunch of things, talking to a bunch of people, so this is kind of my first real clan boss test since I started doing the clan boss, so I really took the time. I mean, especially since I'm making a video for you guys, I figured you should expect nothing less than me to actually go through this and show you how I went through the game. So I'm hoping for a best here. It's possible I don't get a best, but I have high hopes for it. I think I have to reach, I would like to reach 5 to 6 million. If that's possible, I'm not sure. This AoE is going to be detrimental for sure. Let's see. So we didn't lose anyone. That is fantastic. Now we will burn this attack boost extra turn since it's just a stun phase. It's all going to come down to RNG and who gets stunned here. That's going to absolutely be the deciding factor. So now that Romero's health is a little bit low, and I'm not sure exactly who is going to get stunned, I'm going to throw the attack down that didn't land to try to preemptively save myself. That didn't help. Romero ended up surviving, which is good. So we will have counterattack here once again, which is perfect. We might still lose Romero since we have no attack down. So let's throw this defense down and weaken. All right, perfect. We're safe. We're still pumping out damage. You gotta love it. Now I'm really hesitant to just put this on auto. I don't want to drag the video out too long, but as mentioned, I'm definitely trying to get the most out of this team just to see what my max potential is so I can further calculate how many chests I can get and when I can actually make the jump to brutal for success. Alright, so that AoE right there, it took out both of my level 50s being Romero and Outlaw Monk. So my Poisoner's gone and my continuous heal's gone. So this is going to be probably the death also of my Spider, which means no attack down, no defense down, weaken. We are definitely in the final stages of what I can do here. Now okay, so I didn't get crit, which is very nice. So now I can throw this on auto, and let's see if we can go for a record here. So I definitely messed that up. I shouldn't have put it on auto. He would have had counterattack. Obviously he got crit, so that wasn't good. So let's see. Okay, so this is the end. So we only got 4 million damage, not a ton of damage, not a huge increase. Definitely have lots of work to do. As mentioned before, in an ideal world, I would speed tune this team so everyone's having the proper amount of turns. Going back to the idea of how important silver is, let's just take a quick look at my gear. Don't have a necklace or a banner on anyone, unfortunately. I do have a ring on, I think, everybody. 1, 2... Okay, so I have a ring on everybody. All of it's campaign gear. I chose to farm campaign for the majority of my gear. I'm just moving on to the dragon farming section of this, being honest with you, mostly because it's part of the tournament, and I want to really get the consistency down of the dragon stage I'm at before I start progressing any further there. So I would probably, if there were no dragon tournament this week, for who gets the most potential, I probably would have stuck with campaign for a couple more days until I at least got Spider to level 60. Then I would have gone back into Dragon, tried to progress Steel Bowyer and War Maiden to 6-star even more, so I can farm a higher stage and really get the most value. So I do have speed boots on everybody. Obviously, by increasing this all the way to 16, my whole team's value in speed will raise significantly, especially in my farmer. So looking at my overall silver, I have 33,000 silver, but I do have 1,400 energy. So what I'm going to be doing is farming more dragon. So that's definitely going to conclude my account update. Hopefully you got some really good pointers out of this that could help you if you are in a similar stage to where I am progression wise. Obviously, if you're 6 days in, your account doesn't look like this unless you've spent money. But if you have been playing for 1 month, 2 months, your account could look like this if you prioritize things correctly, if you got as lucky as I did with polls. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my account progress, the update I've given you here. One thing I do plan on showing you for the next video, I'm definitely going to be in Brutal when I do my next update. I'll probably be further progressed. As mentioned before, I am not following the progress of the other contestants. So what I want you guys to do in the comments below, let me know how they're doing. Should I be worried? Should I be terrified? I have no idea. Some people have dropped some hints on stream, but outside of me just reading the clan boss damage meter, I have no idea where these guys are progress-wise. So definitely do me a solid, write in the comments, let me know where the other contestants are, and I will see you in the next Affinity Cup update.